anywhere there is like this thing about the solution is not clear, and the common wisdom is something which is not the really the truth, then it really gets me to dig deeper and keeps my thought process active and inspiration flowing.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today I'm joined by Rajkumar Venkatesan, the Ronald Trzcinski Professor of Business Administration at the Darden Business School at the University of Virginia. Raj has written about and taught quantitative marketing to MBA and executive education students worldwide. At Darden, he has taught a course on marketing analytics for more than 10 years and a course on marketing technology products for 5 years. His experience in these courses has translated into books, Cutting Edge Marketing Analytics, published by Pearson Education in 2014, and AI Marketing Canvas in 2021. He has published extensively in the Journal of Marketing, Journal of Marketing Research, Marketing Science, Journal of Academy of Marketing Science, International Journal of Research and Marketing, Harvard Business Review, and California Management Review. He serves as an associate editor for Journal of Marketing, International Journal of Research and Marketing, and Journal of Academy of Marketing Science. More than 250,000 individuals have participated in his Coursera course on marketing analytics. Raj Venkatesan, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me, Michael. It's a great pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very, very much for being here. Raj, you're the Professor of Business Administration at the Darden Business School, University of Virginia. You've written numerous books, Cutting Edge Marketing Analytics, AI Marketing Canvas. You've published extensively in different journals, and most, impressive to me as an avid Coursera, learner, you've had more than 250,000 individuals that have participated in your Coursera course on marketing analytics. I think that's just incredible. This idea that you can create some educational program that reaches this number of students. Did you expect so many students to be taking this course?
No. In fact, not at all. And this shows to the power of online platforms and the reach that they have. And it's an incredible journey, and I'm fortunate to have so many students subscribe to the course, and fortunate that the message I wanted in the course is able to reach a wide audience all over the world.
Incredible. Well, Raj, so, the Andrew Ng is a friend from Stanford, and I had the pleasure of taking a few classes with him, and I resonate when he speaks about his, experience and building Coursera with exactly this in mind. Raj, take me back a little bit through your career, and we'll converge on this idea of artificial intelligence as a strategy within companies. Tell me a little bit about your career and how you've gotten to this conviction that you have around this technology.
So I started with my undergrad education was in computer engineering, and this was in the mid-90s, and I was learning at that time about all this new technology that was coming up around like neural networks and genetic algorithms, and that's where my first exposure was. And at that time, it was still theoretical. This was not something that would nobody knew it would scale. And I found my way to a business school where the faculty felt that there would be an application of this in the future. And they were very prescient about this and asked me if I would be interested in pursuing a career in marketing. And I started taking some courses. I liked it. And I actually found that I can now apply some of the, concepts, algorithms that you just learn with a real problem and application that was motivating and interesting for me. And I liked human psychology and understanding about consumers and data that was more like relevant. I felt like the data spoke to me when it was about people and their behaviors. And so I really started enjoying it and worked more on that. And so that's kind of what one thing led to the other in terms of my research was always focused on using technology in marketing. And I've seen the evolution from the mid 90s to now with like the old ERP systems to CRM systems to mobile to now AI. And that's been an incredible journey to see the two worlds actually converge and what is now possible with AI in marketing.
So can you give me a few examples of how technology comes into play with marketing, in the last decade or two, and how that has made a significant transformation that is perhaps not as trivial as, the average entrepreneur may understand it to be?
Yes. So there is a quote by John Lasseter on art and technology, which talks about how art inspires technology and technology inspires art. And I think that that's true for even marketing. Even from the very beginning, you said 10 to 20 years, I'll take you back like maybe 80 years, where the first television started and how our commercials were beginning. And that was the technology of the time. And you could see marketing embrace that immediately. But at that time, you had like one campaign that you would have for everybody. And then over time, as cable started, you started seeing segmentation and you started seeing like maybe two or three segments. And with like in the 80s, really, you had direct mail that started and with some amount of database technology that was picking up. And you had companies like Capital One that were like doing massive A/B testing on direct mail campaigns and like finding out like what kind of message works for which consumer for
Wow.
balance transfer or better interest rates. And that was like in the 80s, right? And then you can see digital really start around 2000 and this whole email campaigns and search engine started looking at like 1,000 different segments. And so you can see that marketing has always been using technology to cater and target to personalized individuals in a personalized way. And now with AI, you can see with like the Starbucks loyalty program app that has about close to 20 million consumers on the app are now able to send personalized recommendations and offers to you based on what like coffee or tea you like and also promote products, identify like if they're launching a new pumpkin spice latte, who's going to like it. And so you can see, for me, technology has really allowed marketing to get more personalized at scale.
Right. And so what has happened in the last, 5 to 10 years with the explosion of artificial intelligence beyond just, the technology that we're discussing? How has that made an even more significant leap in the world of marketing?
So, yeah, great question. I think one is I start with the notion in my class always that, and we talk about in the book also, is before AI, you knew, like, the marketing funnel is awareness, interest, desire, and action. You knew about consumers till they bought the product. You didn't know about how they use the product.
Right.
And you would try some focus groups or like, I like the example of cars where like, if you bought a car like a Toyota, once you bought the car, Toyota doesn't know how you're using it till you go to the service. And that's why service networks are so important. Now, if you look at Tesla and all the technology of all the technology enabled cars, and Tesla is at the forefront there, but other cars also have like this smart technology. They can tell how you're using the car and for what purposes. And with the smartphone apps also, you're able to see how consumers use the app. Like when I get into my car in the morning, it tells me how much traffic is for my work, right? And so it tells me whether I'm taking it for long distances or just for back and forth for work, or am I picking up kids in the evening? So all of this information allows then the companies to start customizing the cars in terms of what needs I have,
right,
and what kind of, how big each segment is. And that is really the difference with AI, I feel, is that the knowledge about how we use products and how we talk about these products with others. And that's
right.
the gold, and it's like information that is gold for marketers.
Right. Now, obviously, this is, if we're looking at incumbents and we're looking at companies that are already existing and they're observing this explosion of technology, and perhaps they even have a few dozen people in marketing or even a few hundred people in marketing. How have they adapted? So I can get why, an early stage company, a new startup that starts out will immediately want to take the most advanced technology and will understand it. But how does a big company can go ahead and, integrate a similar technology like this into their pipeline with all that, it takes to do that?
Yeah, excellent observation. And that was, in fact, our main motivation for writing the book AI Marketing Canvas, is to see there's a lot of digital platforms and digital natives that are disrupting markets, and how are incumbent brands really reacting to this, and how can they benefit. And what we saw were there are two examples we give. I can pick two examples from the book.
Please.
One is on Chase, what they did with the retail banking advertising. So they use this vendor Prasado, which does emotion AI, and they now have signed with them a full contract for Prasado to actually write the digital campaigns. It's not just who sees it and what the offer is. It is actually the copy of the ad is written by the machine. And the reason was that Chase felt that it's very ironic stories, because the Chase felt that because there were more ATMs and mobile apps were getting better, people are not going to the retail bank, so they were not able to get an emotional connection with the brand. So they needed to have the ads speak to the consumers in a more emotional way to connect with the consumers. But to do that at scale, you need a machine. So that's what they did with, so that was their first experiment. They started with a few experiments, then the ROI was there. So now they've signed for all of the digital campaigns to be run by machines.
Incredible.
That's one example of a really old, great brand using AI.
Yeah.
And Coke has done that too with their smart vending machines. Because they have IoTs on all the vending machines, where we can customize the drinks. And so they know, one is, of course, they know how much of a Sprite or Cherry or Coke is being used in different vending machines, so they can avoid stockouts, which is important for customer relationships. But also they found that Sprite Cherry was the drink a lot of us actually combined on that smart vending machine. So this insight from the vending machine told them to launch it in the grocery stores, and which was one of the biggest recent hits. So you can see Coke actually investing, like we talked about the consumption period,
Right.
Coke actually investing in these smart vending machines to directly understand how consumers are using its brand, and the benefits then it provides them with new product innovation.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like being a professor in this field and, researching it from the side, sharing it with students, writing case studies? What was that? What is this process like for you as a thinker? Looking at it and, experiencing it both on the theoretical way, but also in the more very, very practical way.
It's an incredible journey, and it's very exhilarating because the field keeps changing every day. So, and even you learn from the students too in the classroom, because they really are on the forefront of what is going on, like in gaming. I'm not a gamer. I mean, my children maybe play a few games here and there, but I'm not an avid gamer. But, we had a discussion around augmented reality in retail in the class last week. I'm teaching digital marketing, and there was a very interesting discussion because it was about how brands are using digital skins, like Burberry and Louis Vuitton, luxury brands are reaching consumers using digital skins. And there was a really great debate in the class on one group of students saying, why would a luxury brand get into gaming? They're diluting the brand. Whereas another group saying, well, it's actually a great idea because a lot of people people are willing to spend a lot of money for digital skins. And this is actually a good placement, even if it doesn't lead to sale in the store. The brand awareness and also the sale of digital skin itself is valuable for these brands. So, this is something that I learned a lot from that discussion. And also, that's the best part about this is you are learning every day, and that's what makes it a lot of fun for me.
Now, as you're writing books about this topic and you're really actively trying to dissect, from case studies and putting them together into some greater trends and predictions, how does this process look like? Is it simply, really diving deep, researching into case studies and putting together? Like, do you find yourself pondering over these theories and trying to come up with these convictions? How do you work specifically?
So it's a combination. It's like a portfolio. So we in Darden, we teach with the case method. So there is a lot of case development work that is part of my day job itself. So I'm writing a case study on fitness tracker company and how they should expand. And so I'm learning a lot about that industry as well as the technology about like fitness tracking and health and fitness as such. But also I'm doing research on how, GDPR affects the returns from acquisitions that are AI related. And should companies still focus, given all these privacy regulations? And that's more empirical, data driven. And so all of that adds. So what we try to do is I try to focus on the area of AI, but there are different, you can go in industry deep dives using case studies. The book was more about a collection of case studies, and then you put it together as theory, and then the research ends up being more deep empirical testing of the theory to see like what are the boundary conditions of this theory.
Take me back a little bit to your childhood and middle school, elementary school. Are you always fascinated with these things? Is it always about this intersection of technology, psychology, consumer behavior, how companies work, or was it other things? What really led to this?
So I was always interested in technology. I mean, it was just fascinating. I still remember the first time I saw a machine it was like a demo, right? I mean, this was in the early 90s, and we didn't have, like in India, all the PCs all over in our houses. So I saw it in like a school or someplace where there were like 20 students looking at this one machine that was running on MS-DOS, and that was like the biggest fascination. And BASIC was the language at that time, and I liked it. I wanted to do more in it, and definitely I stuck around with that. But consumer behavior as such was not something I was really into, or marketing, because India was just opening up at that time. So the consumer culture also just beginning. And so I was more focused on engineering, and that was pretty much what I was doing. I was into sports, and, so all of that was definitely on. Like any person growing up in India, I was into cricket, and and at that time it was not a great encouraging time to be a cricket fan as it is now, with the Indian teams doing much better. But that was pretty much my life, I think. But the technology stream definitely stayed along.
If you're fast forwarding to today and you're looking at your work and you're continuing to dive deep and do this research and work with students, where do you draw your inspiration from today, both, professionally and personally?
Inspiration is certainly from what's happening around us. That is certainly my inspiration. And, I like podcasts like this. I hear a lot about like the world around AI and the intersection of human and AI and general AI and GPT-3. And, I'm really fascinated by this question of like, how would the world be when there is a lot of AI and not just like general purpose, right? It's not just like what I'm talking about in this book. And also about social issues around, with social media, and how as consumers how does it shape our society as such, right? In terms of the information bubbles versus effect on our health, and but at the same time it is allowing for information to pass and people to organize And so there's this interesting challenge that you have of good and bad, right? And even with like climate change, then there is this, it's not easy to crack this puzzle because anytime you go down one path, it has some negative externalities in another place, right? So those things really fascinate me and keep me, that really is the inspiration for me, really is around, do you do regulations? What are the effect of all of these big tech platforms on society? And so anywhere there is like this thing about the solution is not clear, and the common wisdom is something which is not the really the truth, then it really gets me to dig deeper and keeps my thought process active and inspiration flowing.
I love it. And if there were a few words that you had to choose for yourself, or if I were to ask anybody that knows you really, really well, who's Raj? What do some words come to mind?
Yeah, well, I should qualify that, if anybody knew what others would tell about them, that's like, I want to know that secret. Uh, so what I would like for people to know, I can say like, yeah, curious, kind, sympathetic, and casual and chill. I think that would what I would think of me as.
Raj, thank you so much for the time. This was so enjoyable. And I love the work that you're doing, and these questions that you're posing are so interesting, and they're so ridiculously relevant to everything that's been happening, especially in this last year and a half. I can only imagine, as the world has become so digitalized and globalized throughout the pandemic, the data scientist in me is, scrambling to look for new data sets and to figure out, okay, how is consumer behavior shifting? And how are companies adapting, especially as so many businesses were forced to shift from physical to online. And that just draws on infinite opportunity exactly in the worlds that you're talking about. And I look forward to checking out the Coursera course myself. I can't believe you have 250,000 students. That's just freaking amazing. That's incredible. And so Raj, thank you very, very much for your time, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.